Chapter 123. Let me borrow him. Although he knew that the next realm was the nascent soul realm, he still felt that it was rather magical when he saw Ziyu like this. This process really felt like giving birth to a child. Actually, he felt that this process was even more mysterious than childbirth. Childbirth only required the union of a man and a woman. He really did not understand how nascent soul is condensed. Stop your foul jokes. This is the nascent soul I condensed. If you can reach this realm in the future, you will also give birth to a baby. Ziyu rolled her eyes at Songshi and walked in the air with her hands behind her back. She circled the area with a happy expression. From today onwards, I, Ziyu, am a nascent soul. At this moment, Ziyu looked innocent and happy like a child. But Songshi was not in the mood to enjoy this joyfulness because he was extremely weak. Even when he was just a playboy, he was not so weak. Right now he was so weak that he did not even have the strength to speak. At this moment, the wind and clouds in the sky changed. A dark cloud gathered, and lightning flickered in it. Ziyu sensed the change and the smile on her nascent soul's face disappeared. In a flash, it jumped and collided with the top of her body and disappeared. Swoosh! Ziyu opened her eyes and a pair of blazing lights shot out. She said solemnly while handing Songshi a pill, "My lightning tribulation is here. I will need to go out to ascend it. This is an essence returning pill. It can replenish your energy." With a flick of her finger, the essence returning pill landed in Songshi's mouth, turning into a warm medicinal efficacy that spread out, allowing the depleted essence energy in Songshi's body to recover a little. "Thanks for feeding me." Songshi heaved a sigh of relief. He did not see the lightning tribulation, but he could vaguely sense a destructive aura nearby. He said worriedly, "You won't be struck to death by lightning, right? Then it'll have been sucked dry for nothing." "Don't worry, my foundation is deep, and I've long cultivated my spirit body. It's just a nascent soul lightning tribulation. It's a small matter, it can help me consolidate my cultivation." Ziyu smiled proudly. She stood up and formed a seal. The array formation above her head and the roof of the hall opened. She turned into a ray of light and rushed out of the hall, flying towards the thunderclouds. Then, the lightning flashed brightly. Songshi heard a loud bang. A purple full moon was struck by the lightning. In an instant, the lightning was shattered by Ziyu and turned into electric snakes that danced in the sky. Fierce. Songshi was surprised. One really had to be strong enough to achieve such a powerful feat. Rumble. Dark clouds rolled, and an even thicker bolt of lightning descended from the sky and landed on Ziyu's body. Cracks had already appeared on Ziyu's body from the first collision with the lightning tribulation. She was hit by an even stronger lightning tribulation. With a crack, Ziyu's moon shield was completely shattered, and her slender figure was directly struck by the lightning. There are two nascent soul lightning tribulations. The second one broke through her dharmic powers, but with her strong spirit body, she should be fine. Songshi muttered. He knew that every time a cultivator stepped into a major realm from the Golden Core realm onwards, there would be a lightning tribulation. After the Golden Core tribulation, the difficulty of each tribulation would increase. With every major realm, and its power would be even more terrifying. However, Ziyu's spirit body was comparable to the strength of numinous artifacts. It should not be a problem for her to withstand a lightning tribulation. The lightning flashed for a moment before dissipating, revealing Ziyu, who was emitting will-o-wisps and had a layer of rune patterns floating on her body. Haha! Congratulations to Lord Ziyu for perfecting and advancing to the nascent soul realm, allowing our Yao Moon Palace to officially have 3 perfected Lord Cultivators overseeing it. Amidst his laughter, a woman with snow-white hair appeared. Her body was petite, and her voice was old. She was the palace master of the New Moon Palace, perfected Lord Yaoyu. She was already more than 1,000 years old, and her pure white light was exactly like the moon in the sky, making the moons of the other Golden Core cultivators pale in comparison. Only Ziyu could compare to her, although barely. Clearly, her nomological power was unfathomable. Ziyu has a deep foundation. Once she breaks through, she will immediately become the cornerstone of our Yao Moon Palace. In the future, the pressure on the two of us will be much less. Another old woman appeared out of thin air. There was nothing unusual about her. Her hair was gray, and her face was filled with wrinkles when she smiled. There were also many age spots on her face. Her body was hunched, and she held a black walking stick with a golden dragon head in her hand. She looked like an ordinary old lady. "Thank you, Palace Master and Grand Elder." Amidst the lightning, Ziyu steadied herself and bowed to the two of them. "By you congratulate Senior Master Ziyu." A woman in white flew out and congratulated Ziyu as the first among her peers. In the cultivation world, because cultivators had a long lifespan, seniority was related to cultivation. At least on the surface, that is, they could call them whatever they wanted in private. On the surface, if a golden core cultivator called him senior brother or senior master. Not to mention what others would think, even he would find it strange given his lower level. However, as Ziyu has broken through, her senior brothers and sisters would have to call her senior master. Soon, figures appeared one after another. Regardless of whether they were truly happy for her or not, they all congratulated her. Songqi looked at the moons and sun phenomena floating in the void. These phenomenons were all from golden core and even nascent soul cultivators. The stronger one was, the bigger their phenomena was, and the brighter the light produced. Other than the old woman, who did not reveal anything, the other one's phenomena looked like 2 big moons, and more than 10 small moons and suns floating in the void. It was especially spectacular. Songqi sized up these moons and suns and realized that, other than their size and brightness, their colors and nature of power were also different. This meant that these were all different cultivation techniques that were cultivated using the same system. With so many golden cores, the Yao Moon Palace is indeed a top cultivation sect in Great Jin. Songqi sighed. If his family had so many golden cores, would they have still been destroyed by Haiduzi? These women should also be beauties. Forget it, I won't take a peek at them with my divine consciousness. With nascent soul cultivators around, I will be easily discovered, and it will be awkward if I get discovered. Songqi rolled his eyes and gave up on the idea of peeking at the beauties. While he was observing the higher-ups of the Yao Moon Palace, there were also people who secretly sized him up. They were rather curious about the man who helped Ziyu form her nascent soul. "Ziyu, come to the conference hall. Now that you're a nascent soul, it's time to adjust your title and position." The palace master led everyone, who turned into rays of light, to fly into a colorful hall above the Violet Moon Palace. They entered a hall with many seats. The people who entered dispersed their nomological power phenomena, revealing many more women than men. They all walked to their seats. There were 3 seats at the head of the table. The palace master and the matriarch sat in the middle and on the left. They smiled at Ziyu and said, "Sit here." Ziyu did not stand on ceremony and sat down generously, attracting the envious gazes of many golden core cultivators. Palace Master Yao Yu actually looked like a young girl. If not for the vicissitudes of life present in her eyes, it would be difficult to imagine that she was a nascent soul. She said with a dignified expression, "Ziyu has successfully formed her nascent soul. The Violet Moon Halshes should rise to the center of the Sun-Moon Splendor Ray, and she will officially become a Grand Elder. Does anyone have any objections?" The Golden Core Elders shook their heads and naturally had no objections. Palace Master Yao Yu took out a token and chanted an incantation. The light of the sun and moon fluctuated in the hall, and the entire ray formation changed. In the next moment, Ziyu's hall on the 2nd floor suddenly rose. Her palace arrived at the top in one breath and stood side by side with a colorful palace, Jade Palace, Black Palace, and a pavilion. She was only slightly lower than the colorful palace and Jade Palace by half a foot. Songqi, who was in the Ziyu hall, sensed the change. He sensed that the concentration of spiritual chi had suddenly increased by 10 times. He jumped to the top exit in surprise and looked outside, in shock. Inside the Violet Moon Palace, he could see that the 5 palaces floated at the highest point of the array with the colorful palace as the core. There was actually a phenomenon of the sun and moon shining together in the colorful palace. The light was resplendent and one could not look at it directly. Below this level, palaces and pavilions were ranged in a circular formation. They were still slowly rotating, secretly conforming to certain rules of heaven and earth. "How magnificent!" Songqi exclaimed. This was such a spectacular scene, something a mere mortal would never be able to see. "Ahum, Senior Master Ziyu, I am wondering if you can lend me your disciple's Dao Companion." While Songqi was looking at the panoramic view of the inner sanctum of the Yaoyu Palace, in the meeting hall, an old woman in green shamelessly spoke out what many others were thinking of as well.